part of the price of MAGA-dom, particularly if you are a person of color, is to take the humiliation. You know, I mean, Nikki Haley was not even invited. She was ostentatiously disinvited from this convention, yet she still said, I pledge all my delegates to Trump. This guy,
and then they reversed it, and they did invite her again.
Tim Scott humiliated himself daily, and then has continued to do so on this stage. I'm stunned and sad for him in the display he just did. But the humiliation of Tim Scott is part of the game, and it's part of the price. Marco Rubio has been allowing himself to be humiliated by Donald Trump since he drank the tiny water bottle. Like, he's never going to stop letting Trump humiliate him. Allowing yourself to take the humiliation from Donald Trump is part of the price of being part of his army.
Shut up, silly woman.
Poor and neglected communities like mine are suffering. And who else in here is sick and tired of being sick and tired? The Democratic Party that poor minorities have been loyal to for decades, including myself, all right? They betrayed us. They stabbed us in the back. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who claim to represent us, have abandoned us. They neglected the poor minority communities across America. But mine eyes have been opened. Just like so many other poor minorities across America. Donald Trump shares our values, love of God and family and country.
As you saw from the intro, Joy Reid thinks that you have to humiliate yourself to be a conservative or to support Trump. And that is not true. That's not true at all. Right? But that's a lot of assumptions on her part, right? About how, Tim Scott has to humiliate himself. How is Tim Scott humiliating himself? Sorry. Is it for the fact that he's supporting Trump, or he's openly passionate about supporting Trump, right? Or he was auditioning for a vice presidency, which Kamala probably did. Like, to me, this is a question I ask myself, or I'll ask you on the comment section below. What's more humiliating? Calling a dude that you think was racist, a segregationist, an alleged rapist as a black woman, as a supposedly woman of color, even though I think that's a racist term in of itself. But the left seems to get away with racial remarks over here, and then you end up being his vice president. Isn't that a type of humiliation? Like, I'm gonna ask Joy Reid. I would ask people who think in the same framework as Joy Reid. Isn't that humiliating? That's a black woman, right? Supposedly black woman. You called the dude during your 2019 run for the presidency. You call him racist, segregationist, all this, and you end up being his vice president. Isn't that more? I thought for black people, being near a racist is an L, is a humiliation, because that's the argument, that's the framework she's operating on about Trump, that he's racist, the Republican Party don't like you, and these people, all they do is trying to cast a narrative. Especially Joy Reid. Joy Reid is the worst of them. She's not even doing it in an intellectual way. Like, she doesn't give any specific examples. And that's one thing that about me that I want. I want examples. I don't want you to sit here telling me like your framing of things, like your subjective view of what you think is humiliating, right? Because Joy Reid is the type of person who think that a black person supporting Republicans is humiliating, right? I'll give you an example. Let's check out this clip from someone who felt touched, right? She says she's been a Democrat for 50 years. She felt touched about seeing the diversity in the RNC. And I think this is the real reason I believe Joy Reid is triggered over the fact that the Republican Party seems to be gaining support with minorities. And I think this clip exemplifies exactly why she's coming at it from this, to be a minority in the Republican conservative Trump party You have to humiliate yourself because she's trying to demonize people or scare people from actually looking at the RNC or actually considering the RNC because she's scared more people will end up like this woman I'm about to show you on this clip. Let's take a look.
Seems just for 3 people just to survive in Biden's economy.
Why am I crying over the Republican National Convention? Like, what the frick is going on?
It's upsetting. It's
This
upsetting to see
this
millions
world
of
that we're
dollars
living
being
in right
sent
now.
to help immigrants
Hold
who
on, let
came
me
here
pause this.
illegally while
Woo, this world that we're living in right now feels like upside down land. I've been a Democrat for nearly 50 years. Why am I crying over the Republican National Convention? Like, Amber Rose did a beautiful job. Oh, she did a beautiful job. I'm so proud of her. And then all the diversity and just, I think I'm crying because it's cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive dissonance. Like, what is going on? I've been told my whole life Republicans are just all, white and racist men and all of this. I don't think I've probably ever watched a Republican National Convention. Let's start there. You don't know unless you go see for yourself and stop listening to what people tell you. It's just so beautiful. Just the patriotism, the coming together. I'm telling you, if you on the outside and you think MAGA is this horrible thing, I don't know what to tell you besides you have to see for yourself. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. The coming together of America. America saying no more, no longer. We're not going to do this. We're not going to divide ourselves. We are red, white, and blue. It's beautiful.
And that's why we let Amber Rose speak on on the stage, right? Because in the day, you have to expand the base. You have to expand people who are open to hear it, your message. You have to expose their audience to what you have to offer. Because in the day, I believe in this. Reagan's made this quote that they're going to conform. They're going to change to my philosophy. I'm not going to change to theirs. And I think that's something that a lot of conservatives should be more resolute in. Like, hey, like you can express your views, but proximity is the best form of persuasion in a way. And I think that it does us a disservice by being such like gatekeepers from people. It's like a blessing, right? Like you don't want to hold down good outcomes for people if you believe that your way is a better way. You want them to be in an area where you can expose your message to them. And I think this is a good opportunity to allow people to see and hear directly from what you have to say. Because imagine, I don't think that lady would have tuned in if it wasn't for Amber Rose. And I'm pretty sure she tuned in for her own reasons. She's probably crying because she noticed how hard the economy is. And these Democrats don't seem to realize this. And these Democrats seem a lot out of touch with reality. Like, I'm going to drop a Thomas Sowell quote before we react to the rest of what George Reid has to say. Evidence is too dangerous politically, financially, and psychologically for some people to allow it to become a threat to their interests or to their own sense of themselves. And I believe that's what George Reid is operating on. All right. She's talking about how, oh my God, you have to humiliate yourself to be a Republican. It's a scare tactic because it's not in Joy Reid's interest to have more minorities or be open to the Republican platform. And I think this is one reason why she's saying all this stuff on MSNBC, right? So, let's get back into the video, and then I'll give some of my commentary throughout. So let's take a look at the video.
Allowing himself to be humiliated by Donald Trump since he drank the tiny water bottle. Like, he's never going to stop letting Trump humiliate him. Allowing yourself to take the humiliation from Donald Trump is part of the price of being part of his army. And he enjoys I think people...
A lot of assumptions on her part, right? Like I said on this channel, humans, we suck at judging intentions. You can only judge actions. From Trump's actions, has he any way humiliated Rubio or Brian Donalds or all these other No. Nikki Haley's point is a simple point. Oh, she wasn't invited to the RNC. Well, she didn't endorse Trump. Wait, Trump wants like pretty much Trump has the nomination. You think you want to invite somebody that's still running against him? No. And then once she endorsed him, or once she pledged her delegates to him, he's like, oh, okay, you come back into the fold. That's politics. That's not a humiliation. Biden's doing the same thing. Oh, y'all want him to drop out so Harris can run. He ain't dropping out. Why you ain't not calling that humiliating? That we rather get a mentally unfit president rather than Kamala Harris as presidency. Why you don't consider that humiliating, Joy Reid? A questioning mind wants to know.
People keep forgetting the character of the man. I mean, he does enjoy humiliating these people and making them jump through hoops. I mean, Byron Donalds was no more going to be his vice president than he was going to be speaker. And then afterwards, the Texas congressman admitted that he only placed his name in nomination because he was black and there had been a black nominee that Hakeem Jeffries was nominated on the other side. It's just, I am sad for the folks who are willing to take this kind of abuse, because it's community-wide abuse, because it is an abuse of these communities to make people walk the plank knowing none of these people were ever going to be passed.
Yeah, and this is what the Thomas, that's why I led in with the Thomas Sowell quote, because what evidence does she has to suggest that? Right? If I remove race out of these candidates, and let's say they were all one race, let's say they were the same race as Donald Trump, would she be saying all this? No, she wouldn't. She'll be making another angle. And this is what I'm talking about. And you can tell a lot by the messaging that Joy Reid is really trying to push. She really doesn't want minorities supporting Trump. You saw in the clip that I showed you of the black lady who's been a Democrat for 50 years, that black people or minorities are more open to Trump, not more now than ever before. And Joy Reid, in some ways, I think she senses that, and she's like, yo, I gotta somehow paint this as in a bad light. Right. And I think that's the new angle she's going for. But to me, I don't think she has the cultural weight to really like stop anything. And I know the liberals are mad at Amber Rose speaking at the RNC and saying, you guys are my people. Right. You even see it in the clip with the black lady that she's like, oh, like, I love the patriotism. That scares them. What? Nothing hurts the leftists more than a patriotic minority person. None. Nothing hurts them more. I know from personal experience. Right. When people try to tell you this message that, oh, America's racist, it's systematically racist. I say, okay, how's the country systematically racist when most of its poor is white? How is it systematically racist when you got programs specifically catered to the minority in the group? So that means affirmative action is a product of white supremacy, a product of systematic racism. Oh no, it's not. It's to right or wrong. Okay, but why would a system that is primarily catered to a white person or white privilege, right? Why is it having a lane for minority people? Right? Remember the black jobs point? Everyone was mad at Trump for saying it. Now Biden's trying to get sound bites talking about, oh, I know what a black job is, vice president. And I'm like, oh, congrats. You agree with conservatives that your pick was a DEI hire. Good job. Your CIA, your head of Secret Service doesn't want to step down, right? And now you got all the red pill guys saying, yeah, see, this is why you don't put women in leadership, because they don't like to take accountability, according to Andrew Tate, which it's hard to argue. I mean, a man will feel some type of shame being like, yo, I didn't secure the area. I didn't give out a good plan to make sure the place was safe. The president almost got shot, because the standard for the Secret Service is zero failure. Zero failure mission. And there was a probability of failure in that circumstance. And where's the accountability? Who got fired? No one. But you got Joy Reid out here talking about, oh, it's humiliating being a conservative. I think it's humiliating to be a Democrat. To be in such an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party, because I have black people all my life, all my family, always complaining about how y'all only come around every 4 years. For Democrats like Hillary Clinton, all she thinks she has to do is talk like Southerner and say, I got hot sauce in my purse. And she's supposed to get 88% of your vote, 95% of your vote, black woman, Joy Reid. But you don't see that as humiliating. You don't see that as humiliating that they don't think, that Democrats don't think that black people can get voter ID or know how to get a driver's license so they can vote when Republicans pass laws to secure that non-Americans are not voting in our election. You claim that is racist. How is that not humiliating? How is not humiliating that you don't hold Black Americans to the same standards you hold white Americans? You expect greatness from white Americans. You perceive that Asians can get into schools without any special treatment, but Black people need special treatment. You treat in the Democratic Party, Black Americans are treated like retarded children, yet you don't find that humiliating, especially how you message to them. It seems like the humiliation point that Joy Reid is trying to make is merely subjective. I digress. I'll let this video finish out, and then I got one more thing to say at the end of it.
And he also changes them in the process. I mean, Marco Rubio, according to one conservative operative I talked to, has been red-pilled and believes the things he's now saying. This is a full 180.
But they change themselves.
Well, I mean, of course, but in the process, the normie is gone. If the normie ever existed, the normie is now gone, has been radicalized. And that's one of the dangerous parts of this deal.
I mean, they change themselves because, just to go back to the theme of the evening of simplifying, it's all about ambition. All of these people want to be in charge and sitting behind the Oval Office desk, right?
The answer to the mystery of Marco Rubio is just ambition.
That's why.
So, as you saw from the video, I don't know, I don't think there was no substantive insight in that. I mean, it is NSNBC, they're biased, obviously, for the Democratic Party. So I wanted to highlight something that, because CNN was also showing something with Joe Biden, and I want to focus a little bit of my time on Joe Biden. So let's take a full look of his speech with the NAACP, and then I'll give my thoughts on it at the end.
Now, just because we must lower the temperature in our politics and relate to violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth. Who you are, what you've done, what you'll do. That's fair game. As Harry Truman said, I've never given anyone hell. I just told the truth and they thought it was hell. That's what I'm going to do. Well, here's the truth about why Donald Trump's presidency was hell for Black America. He tried to repeal Obamacare to kick millions, I mean millions of Black Americans off their health insurance. He had a $2 trillion tax cut that overwhelmingly benefited the super wealthy, the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal debt larger than any one president has in one term. He left no room for us to do what we should be doing, invest in things that affect people's lives, like child care, elder care, and so much more, that grow the economy and help people. His mismanagement of the pandemic was especially devastating to Black communities. Oh, I know, because in other countries, other communities of color. That economic crisis drove up Black unemployment, decimated small Black businesses, and you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. Donald Trump called for the National Guard to go after you. What in the hell's the matter with this man? No, I'm serious. Go figure. From a guy.
No context whatsoever. I find that humiliating, actually. Everything he stated. Child care, like he sees you as poor, destitute, can't do nothing for yourself, right? And this is we're going back to the Thomas Sowell quote that I mentioned earlier in this video. 19 people were killed in the first 14 days of the 2020 BLM riots. But one day in January 6th, and like I said, BLM riots caused more death than January 6th. BLM riots caused more destruction, more property damage than January 6th. But here we are continually talking about it. He said a lot of lies there. Government spending does not help people. How government spending is helping Black Americans? Black Americans can't afford to vote Biden. Look at the inflation rate. Compare in 2020, which is the worst year in Trump's presidency. That's where most of the debt is coming from, right? Because everyone was happy about Trump passing stimulus package, but then in the same breath, Biden's going to come back and then use it again and use it as a talking point to say why you shouldn't have voted for him. But Black people is the most one in favor of Trump passing the stimulus package. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. 25 people were killed by the end of October. Trump called in the National Guard to put down the month-long insurrection in Portland. Democrats turned it down. Biden is lying as usual. Party of the elite. You're nothing but a means to an end for him, right? My final point, just stupefying that Democrats are losing. Let me ask you, Black America, right? Because this is what everyone's saying. Oh, I don't understand why more minorities are supporting Trump. The Dow Jones soared 700 points to close at another record high. Strong earnings report expectations that the Federal Reserve would cut rates for driving the rally. I thought Democrats was the party of the working class. If you have investment account, this is a good thing. But your buying power is low, right? Border arrests in June dropped 29%, hitting the lowest in Biden's presidency. Not the lowest ever, the lowest in Biden's presidency. Because I believe what? Biden's at 10 million, almost 10 million border crossing probably by the end of his presidency. Trump had almost what? Trump in his entire presidency only had 2 million people illegally cross the border. Biden's tripled that. But it's down. But he's down compared to his own metrics. U.S. job growth remains solid. The labor market shows resiliency in June and adding 260,000 jobs, a sign that the economic growth remains healthy. Here's some context you need to understand, Black people, or any American. What kind of jobs these are, how these jobs are created. If they're created by government spending, to me, job growth, government jobs should not be counted amongst job growth because that's a metric that the government can fluff the numbers. They can create arbitrary jobs that they'll never plan to fill and claim that the economy is growing. When we all know the government gets its revenue from the private market. So it should matter more what the private market is growing instead of what the government is doing. Because government spending, and this is my conservative argument, is a link to inflation. U.S. inflation cools again, potentially paving a way for Fed to cut the interest rates. Compared to when? Remember, Joe Biden even admitted in the debate stage that inflation, when he came into inflation, it started in his presidency, 2021. 2022 was the worst aspect of it. But inflation is cumulative. That means it stacks on top of each other. It doesn't grow as fast, right? It's like your money. Let's say your money grew 15%. You still have that same amount of money left, and then now it grew 2%. That's inflation in reverse. I bet you if you account for inflation, the economic job numbers, the growth that we experience on the GDP, it'll show that we're in a recession. If you calculate the amount of inflation that we're experiencing the everyday American is seeing that their buying power is lower. They're getting less for more, like more. They have to spend more money to get less products. Americans on TikTok showing how their groceries from 2021 compared to their groceries now is almost double. People showing off their grocery bill. And this is why more and more minorities are looking at the Republican Party. And this is what Joy Reid is trying to humiliate you, trying to make you feel shameful for even considering the RNC, for even thinking you're a conservative. Or if you are a conservative, she's trying to nudge you back in line with being the most loyal constituency of the Democratic Party. But people are wondering, they're like, why Democrats are losing? Get out of your bubble. That's all I'm gonna say. Get out of your bubble. Like the lady said in the intro. You have to see for yourself. You have to make decisions based on your own purview, not what Joy Reid says. Joy Reid is a millionaire, right? Rich people like Joy Reid, who pretends she's a victim. Oh my God, it's been so much racism, but you're a rich person. Oh yeah, okay. If you're a rich person, you're less likely to say that inflation is an issue. And I already told you, Democrats is the party of the elite, the rich, the college educated. And I believe that the Republican Party is becoming the party of the working class, of Americans. Equal treatment, equal standards across the board, regardless of your economic status, your racial status, your sexual orientation. We don't believe in no special treatment. Everyone gets treated the same. That's the Republican platform. While Democrats, they give you special treatment or special conditions based on your skin color. They treat you differently based on who you are. Liberals are more likely to dumb down their language when speaking to someone based on their skin color. Isn't that racist? But Joy Reid doesn't find that humiliating. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you believe in what Joy Reid has to say? Do you think that black conservatives or minority conservatives have to be humiliated or accept abuse to be accepted in the Republican Party? Or you think it's full of ish like I do? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.